What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Last Principles. I am your host, M.A., former member of the ICOC, the International Churches of Christ, baptized on October 8th, 2000, escaped in November of 2013. One quick thing before we get started with the topic of today. If you guys have already probably noticed, you're not seeing my face right now. For the foreseeable near future, I'm going with just audio for my solo videos where I just talk about a particular topic in the ICOC. So I'm using my condenser mic that I have been using for my voiceover work, which gives me the best possible audio. I don't yet have the device that I need that will allow me to both record on my iPhone, which will give me the best visual quality while also using my condenser mic. So until I have the disposable income to get that, I will just be doing audio. And again, that will just be for my solo video. When I do my interviews, I will be doing both visual and using this mic, because when I record over Zoom, the visual is not as bad as when I do it over Zoom and just record myself. I don't know why that is the case. I might figure that out soon. But anyway, just doing audio for the foreseeable future. And again, sometime in the future, I will get that device. I'll be recording with this mic and my iPhone, and you will see this somewhat handsome face again. I'm just joking, y'all. Don't y'all go and take that seriously and think I'm being prideful. That's just a joke. Anyway, okay, to the main topic for today. If you guys probably already see in the title that I'm making the comparison of the ICOC being like an MLM. If you don't know what an MLM is, that is short for multi-level marketing, a multi-level marketing company. Now, I am not the first person to make that connection, but I definitely did make that. I definitely did come to that conclusion on my own. The ironic thing is, I was in the ICOC for a while, and I got involved with at least, I want to say, about 3 different MLMs during my time there. And while I started making connections there, I started seeing familiar themes and parallels with these MLMs with the ICOC. But I guess I was still so deep in it that I saw the connections, but it didn't click, and it wasn't enough to make me get up and leave at the time. But yeah, similar to how a lot of us get caught up with the ICOC, whether, there was something going on in our lives that made us vulnerable to the ICOC or any kind of, high control group / cult, or there was something about the ICOC that was attractive to us. Same thing happens with an MLM, a multi-level marketing company. Some people may even call it a pyramid scheme. So the thing that attracted me to these MLMs and also made me vulnerable to them was the fact that during the first, half of my tenure in the ICOC, I was not the most financially responsible person in the world. I basically just kept the bare minimum bills paid, rent, light bill, gas bill, phone, what have you. Other than that, I didn't keep a budget. I was perpetually behind on my car note. I had a problem with overdrafting a lot, student loans, of course, things like that. So I was not the most financially responsible person in the world. So the idea of making money was definitely appealing to me. And that's one of the big draws to MLMs is the idea of making more money, whether it's extra money on the side, enough money to replace or exceed your current 9-to-5 income, promise of, or the potential to be an entrepreneur, have your own business, make your own schedule, the promise of residual income, maybe even, a little bit of get rich quick, that kind of thing. So yeah, that was very appealing to me and my broke self back then. So the way these things work, the way these MLMs work is, you're selling a particular product. The one that kind of comes to mind for me is Mary Kay. I've known a lot of people who sold Mary Kay products in the past. I know one of my grandmothers was involved with the aloe vera company, so she was selling a lot of aloe vera plant products, which it makes sense now. I didn't realize it back then, but I'm like, why does she always have a big old case of aloe vera lotion or aloe vera gel at the house? And now, having been through MLMs before, I'm like, oh, that's what that was. So you're selling a product, and not only are you selling this product and making money off of that, you are also recruiting people to come into this company and sell as well. So when you recruit people, these people that you recruit are on your team, so to speak. They're, so you basically have your own little splinter company, your own little pocket company within the company. So that's kind of where the whole entrepreneurship part comes in. So not only are you making not only are you making money off of your sales, you're also making a percentage of the sales that the people on your team are making. And you get a percentage of the people under them, so on and so forth. Also, on the reverse of that, the person who brought you in, you're on their team and they're getting a percentage off of what you make, and the people above them as well. So everybody's getting paid off of the people below them, and the people above you are getting paid off of what you make and the people below you. So that's where that pyramid thing comes in at. It's this big old pyramid diagram, and it's a kind of like a trickle up effect. The money comes in, and the higher up in the company you are, the more money you're getting off of the people below you. So, and that's where the residual income thing comes in as well, because even if you don't make any more sales, you're still getting money off of the people who are under you. So that's where the whole pyramid thing comes in at. And some people call them pyramid scams. And there's a slight difference. Well, not a slight difference. There's one difference, but it's a big difference. MLMs are legal. Pyramid schemes are not. And pyramid schemes are where you have to pay to get in, and you're not actually selling a legit product. You're being fooled into thinking you're selling a product, but you're not. All the money is coming in from the new recruits, and those new recruits giving money as they come in. So that's where the scam part, that's where the illegal part comes in at. The first one I came in contact with was Prepaid Legal. Prepaid Legal is now called Legal Shield. So if you see Legal Shield, that's what it is. So there was a brother in my campus ministry with me who put me onto it. So not only did he tell me about the opportunity to make money with it, the product being sold with Prepaid Legal is you basically pay a certain fee per month to have a certain amount of legal services at your disposal at the ready. One that kind of appealed to me, that one example he gave was like, say if you have a speeding ticket, I was still in my early 20s then, so I think I might have been fresh off of a speeding ticket, either just getting one or just having paid one off, or having just gone to court to address one. That was fresh in my mind at the time. So me hearing the fact that you could have a lawyer at the ready for you, and this lawyer could go to court on your behalf, so you don't have to, skip class or take off work, skip work or whatever to go to court. And, that person being a person of the law, they may even be able to get you out of the ticket. So that was very appealing to me. So he mentioned to me, okay, well, there's this meeting for the company that's going on at this restaurant on this day. You should go check it out. So I go check it out, and my boy who introduced me to it wasn't there. And I think somebody, either his direct superior or somebody else above him, was there. And it basically was like a little presentation and seminar kind of thing. So familiar theme one, you get invited by one person, and then when you get there, somebody else takes over. So that started feeling familiar to me too. Another thing that was familiar to me, this didn't actually have anything to do with the company itself. This just was just a little personal experience here. When I got there, now, I will say there is a possibility that I might have heard what I wanted to hear with this, but I was led to believe that our food was going to be taken care of at this place. But when the check came, they looked at me like, "You gonna pay, right?" I'm like, "Wait, what?" I was surprised that my food wasn't being covered. And in hindsight, what I should have done is what I normally do when I believe someone is, when I know that somebody is covering me. I'll say, "Hey, what's my budget? Like, what's the highest I can get on here?" Because if someone's treating me, I don't want to be like, "Ooh, you treating me? All right, so let me go get the lobster and steak." You know what I'm saying? Let me get, I'm not gonna go get the most expensive thing in the menu simply because somebody else is paying for it. I try to make sure that I only order something that I would normally order if I had the budget to go eat out on my own. So that's what I did. I made sure I didn't order anything super expensive, but I did believe that they were covering the food, and I didn't check to make sure. So I put some of that on me. But it worked out at the end of the day. They did end up covering me, but I was just like, this sounds familiar. You go into it thinking it's one thing, and it ends up being something else. So there's that. I ultimately didn't stay with Prepaid Legal after I got involved, because when it comes to MLMs, it's definitely a go-getter type of thing. It's the kind of company that, like, you guys have probably heard or seen advertisements where they're like, we need some highly motivated individuals to join our team, that kind of thing. So basically, if you're going to succeed in an MLM, you got to be a go-getter. You got to be self-motivated. You got to be highly motivated. You got to be a quick starter. You got to be really good at talking to people you don't know. You got to be really good at sales. You got to be really good at convincing people to buy things. And that just wasn't me. I remember I used to work at Bank of America. I worked at Bank of America for a year, and I was a teller. And I did my base job, doing transactions and whatnot. But as a teller, they also wanted you to actively listen, during your teller transactions to see if this person needs this, if they need that. There's certain keywords you're keying in on and say, oh, they mentioned this, that means they may need a mortgage, and they may need a refinance. Or if they said this word, they may need a different kind of checking account. Or if they do this transaction all the time, they may need this other checking account that will be more beneficial to them. So we were encouraged. That's that word, encouraged. We were encouraged to try to push these products to them, and that was just something I just was never good at. Was never good at that. Was never good at cold contact, anything. I'm a friendly introvert, but I'm still an introvert, meaning I don't really do well with walking up to people I don't know and talking to them. So that I never did well with cold contact, sharing my faith. I never did well with blitzing the campus, cranking the ministry, all that kind of stuff. Oh, I shared with X amount of people today. I shared with 20 people today. I shared with 50 people today. I was never that person. I always did better with building relationships with people I was organically involved with, like say through school, work, whatever hobbies I had. I was always better at at sharing my faith that way with people who I would always run into and had a chance to build a relationship with. Anyway, that's why it didn't work out with me with Prepaid Legal and with any of the other ones I got involved with. And eventually I stopped using the service because I was like, I really don't have the disposable income every month to pay for this service that I'm barely using. So there was the end of that one. The next one was World Financial Group. Now, what drew me into this one was the fact that, again, I was not very financially stable or responsible back then. And the product being sold with World Financial Group is financial stability, basically teaching you how to manage your finances, setting you up with a plan to get out of debt, and setting you up with a plan to take care of your future, whether it's like investments, savings, all the financial terms that I can't remember right now. Just setting you up, getting you out of debt, getting your present taken care of, and then preparing for your future. And I was like, not only do I need to get out of debt, not only do I need to get my finances in order, I would love to be set for life. So one of my salsa friends introduced me to it. And again, another familiar thing, he tells me about this meeting that's happening. I go to it. I don't see him there. So somebody else in his organization is taking over for me. I sit through the seminar, and someone interviews me afterwards, to try to assess where I'm at, figure out what kind of products I need, blah, blah, blah. And again, because I'm not a commission type person, I don't really do well with this. So I did eventually quit. I did eventually stop using the service as well. But some of the familiar things again was the whole, again, being invited by one person, and you get there, the person who invited you isn't there, and it's being taken over by somebody else that they know that's above them. Another thing, I feel like everybody looked the same. Everybody was dressed the same. Now, intellectually, I know that was because this was a professional environment, and it was pretty much required that you dressed professionally. It was required that you wear a suit there. So yes, everybody did look the same for a purpose. It wasn't on some cult shit, but I still got the same vibe. I'm like, wow, everybody is looking and acting the same. Another thing I noticed was there was a bit of leader worship there. I remember, I think the guy's name was Steve Levitan. I know the last name was Levitan. I don't know if I'm getting the first name right, but definitely last name was Levitan. So Steve Levitan was the guy who was, I guess, the leader of that branch of the company. And whenever he got up to speak, everybody was like hooting and hollering, cheering, woo, woo, yeah, yeah. And like big clap. It was always a big to do about it. And it reminded me of the first time I ever went out to an ICOC service. I was not used to, and I had been to numerous churches before. I was not used to people. I mean, people would be happy to know that the pastor was coming up to preach, or whoever was coming up to preach, but I'd never seen people get that excited about somebody coming up to speak. Almost as like people were getting excited about the evangelist coming to speak the way that people would get excited over, their team making a touchdown or winning a close game at the last second. In whatever sport you like, that was the kind of cheering that I would hear when the evangelists would go on stage. And that's the same thing I was getting, the same vibe I was getting when this guy who led that branch of World Financial Group would get up to speak. It was just like everybody erupted and everybody was super excited. I'm like, really? Like, okay, I get the guy is a big deal, but damn, like this is a little bit much. So yeah, so we got the leader worship there. And then another thing, I wasn't there long enough I think I might have been there for like 3 months at the most. I backed out a whole lot quicker than I did with Prepaid Legal. But during my time there, I noticed that there would be these announcements about this particular like a convention or a conference that they were having and they were like, hey, you guys got to make sure you go to this conference. It's going to change your life. It's really going to help your career. You're really missing out if you don't go. And, it wasn't required and you weren't like in trouble if you didn't go, but it really was more like you really missing out. This is how we really know you're serious. If you go to this thing, if you don't go, we know you're not serious about your career here. We know you're not serious about making sales, blah, blah, blah. So again, you didn't really get in trouble, but it was a bit of a guilt trip kind of thing going on. And they're like, hey, if you can't afford it, you can do a payment plan, or you can, set up payments, blah, blah, blah. So that thing happened. I never did go on one of those trips. But again, a lot of these things are sounding similar. And I'm hearing these parallels. I'm hearing these connections, but it's not clicking in my head yet. So last one, and this was maybe within the last two years, maybe year and a half of my being in the ICOC. There's one sister at a service that we knew each other, but we weren't super close, but like enough to where, hey, I seen you in a while. How you doing? That kind of relationship. And she mentioned there was this opportunity or whatever that she wanted me to hear about, and there's going to be a get together at such and such's house for. And I forget what was said that made me really feel like, okay, I should go to this thing. I really can't remember. This part is a blur for me. But I get there, and it's one of them real swanky houses, just barely a step down or a step and a half down from something you'd see on MTV Cribs. Like whoever was living there was like living life, like balling out of control. Anyway, it's in a cul-de-sac in this really swanky neighborhood. You get in, you got a huge foyer, however you pronounce that, with the banister stairs, and the stairs curve around, and there's like 3 levels to the house. You go down to the lower level, and that's where all the stuff is happening. And I very quickly recognize what's going on. I'm like, uh-oh, this is another MLM thing. So I stay long enough to eat the free food. I mean, I hear them out, but I'm like, hey, free food. I'm gonna sit here and at least hear this out. But yeah, I didn't stay long. But it was Isagenix. Isagenix was the company. It was some kind of health, weight loss type, shake or whatever like that. That's what you would be selling. But I didn't bite on that one. I was just like, okay, same old again. So I didn't even go down that road. But yeah, so I got similar vibes with that. That reminded me a little bit of like a really, really big Bible talk a little bit. So there was that one. Now, the last one. Now, this is after the ICOC. I had been gone for about 3 years, I think. So by this time, I am deep into my cosplay hobby. I've been cosplaying since September of 2012. So a year and some change before I left the ICOC. So I'm deep in the hobby. Now, a little thing about cosplay. A lot of people think that a lot of cosplayers are making money off of it. The vast majority of us are not. It is an expensive ass hobby. Like, a lot of us, we're paying to go to the conventions. We're paying for our costumes, whether you're just buying the costume outright, or you're buying the materials to make it, or you're paying somebody else to make it for you. You're shelling out a lot of money on your own. You're not getting money from this. So there are professional cosplayers out there. There are cosplayers who make money off of it, and there are some cosplayers who even make their living off of it. But there are few and far in between. The percentage of people who actually make money off of it, make legit money off of it, that is a small percentage. So don't let that fool you. But I say that to set up the fact that I was approached by a guy who was starting a cosplay modeling agency, right? And I had no intention of ever like being big in cosplay. I had no intention of ever being professional with it and making money off of it. But I guess I was a little intrigued and a little flattered by the fact that somebody had approached me to want to be a part of it. I'm like, okay, well, let me at least check this out. I have nothing to lose, at least I don't think. So I get involved with it, and the name of the company is Oh Sith. So a little play on the but instead of that, Oh Sith, like Sith Lord. So the company is called Oh Sith. So it's a company, also it's a podcast. Now the guy, there's one guy and two girls, and they're in a polyamorous, if I'm using the proper term, a polyamorous relationship. Now I'm not knocking anybody's relationship style, lifestyle, whatever. I'm not knocking that at all. The weird part about it was like that aspect of their relationship was like the selling point for the podcast. It was supposed to be a geek podcast. Like that was supposed to have been the main point of it. But I think they kind of just oversold, like over advertised the fact that the three of them were in a polyamorous relationship. So I'm just like, that was just a little weird to me. The fact that was their selling point, that was like the main draw to their podcast. Anyway, so they recruited, a bunch of other cosplayers to be a part of it. And, we were all supposed to help advertise for each other, help advertise for the company. They were supposed to give us like little gift bags and swag or whatever to all the different cosplayers. And I forget what the plan was, but we all would eventually start making money together with this cosplay company. Long story short, that didn't happen. Very few people ever got any returns on it, and we weren't really shelling out any money, but we were being asked to do all of this sharing, all of this advertising for other people in the group. You got to share about, you got to do your Man Crush Monday and share about all the guys. You got to do your Woman Crush Wednesday and share about all the girls. All this sharing. This is sounding familiar. Doing all this advertising for the company, we all started to realize, wait a minute, we ain't really getting nothing back off of this, and we realized we're being used to promote the company that was running the podcast. That's what we started to realize. Before we came to that conclusion, the guy who was, I guess, the head of the guys department. So the men were called the Sith Lords, and the women were called the Oh Sith Show Girls. The whole thing was called the Oh Sith Show. So the guys were the Sith Lords, and the girls in the company were called the Oh Sith Show Girls. So the guy who was running the guys department, I guess he left or didn't want to have anything to do with it, whatever. So I got handpicked me and another guy, we both kind of co-led the men from that point on. I guess because we were the longest tenured ones or whatever. I forget. But at some point, we were not recruiting enough. So the guy who ran the whole thing asked me to do a Zoom call or a Skype call. Zoom hadn't taken off yet. Do a Skype call with all the other quote unquote Sith Lords and to kind of get them in gear or whatever. Now, I am not the kind of person to get up in people's face. I'm not going to be shouting down people's throats. I'm not going to be breathing down your neck. I had the most respectful, calm talk with them, and I barely even really said much because I'm not even sure I'm believing in this product anymore at this point. But I'm just doing what I'm doing what I was asked to do. Conversation, went all right. So dude asked me later on. He said, "Hey, how did the talk go? How did the meeting go?" I'm like, "It went all right. It went good." So maybe a day or so later, we all get a message, we all get a nasty gram from him saying, okay, well, since this meeting went so well, I'm gonna put this to the test. I need all of y'all to have X amount of recruits before the end of the weekend. Now, it was like Thursday or Friday when this happens, and I forget what the number of recruits he wanted us each to have, but it was daggum ridiculous. I'm like, ain't nobody finna get this many recruits before the end of the weekend. People got plans. Like, you just dropped this on us. We ain't getting paid to do this. Like, what's going on? So that's when I really started to be like, okay, I ain't. And again, also, he wanted me to really bear down on the guys in this meeting. I'm like, I'm not about to speak to. Now, I was the oldest guy, the physically oldest guy in the group, and everybody else was younger than me, but still, we were all adults. I'm not about to speak to other grown ass men in the manner that he wanted me to speak to them. And like, he really wanted me to like be drill sergeant with these people. I'm like, I'm not doing that with grown behind people. I'm sorry, it's not gonna happen. I think the last straw for me and a lot of us was he made a video on YouTube. I forget if it was on YouTube, but he sent it to all of us. He basically was just berating us for not, doing enough. And that's when that combined with the that challenge or the mandate to have us get X amount of recruits before the end of the weekend, all of that hit me all at once. And I'm like, I'm back in the ICOC again. I'm being mandated to share with X amount of people before by this deadline. I'm being reprimanded for not sharing enough, for not evangelizing enough. This is the same shit. It's the same exact thing. And that's when I was like, I'm like, nah, F it. I'm done. I'm out. And it's funny, for a while, I ended up being invited to a chat on Instagram, and there was an ex Oh Sith group on Instagram, and we basically were all just venting to each other about the bullshit that we just went through. So just like I'm in a couple of ex ICOC groups on Facebook, there was an ex Oh Sith group on Instagram where we all vented about it. Now, I was only in the company for like a couple of months. I think I first got approached like late in the summer, and I left in that I think it was either October or November, one of the two. But yeah, I was only in for a couple of months, but it didn't take me long to be like, okay, this is not this ain't it. And it took that, after I left the ICOC, it took that situation to make me realize. Now, even though I don't really look at Oh Sith like as if it was an MLM, but it was that situation that made me realize it was almost like a veil was lifted off from over my eyes, like the cloud over my eyes dissipated. It was almost like Agent Rappaport, if I'm getting his name right, from Usual Suspects, when he started to realize who Kaiser Soze was the whole time. It was just like all the dots started connecting. I'm like, dadgummit, I've been in an MLM the whole damn time that I was in the ICOC. Everything started to make sense. The pyramid structure of it somebody being under somebody else, the fact that we're, all of our contribution is going up to the leaders. I mean, and I know for the most part that's to some degree how all churches work, but it was like, and I know this isn't specific to the ICOC, but you got some crooked churches where it's just like everybody at the bottom is giving all their money, and the people at top is living lavish. They're like, they got planes, they got fancy cars, they got mansions and stuff like that. And yes, the leaders, if I'm understanding church structure properly, yes, they get paid off of the monetary contributions, the offering, the tithes from the members. I get that they get paid off of that, but I'm like, when it's to the point where you have there's a huge gap between your lifestyle and everybody else in the church, like that's not right. Especially when the people in the church are hurting financially and you're not, helping the poor or anything like that. So yeah, that just made me realize, dang, with the pyramid structure, the way the money is flowing, the hierarchy, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, dang it, I've been in an MLM. I've been in an MLM the whole time and didn't know it. Even when I was in it and I got involved with MLMs, the dots didn't click while I was in it. And I guess that just speaks to just how deep we can be in it when we're in it. How mesmerized and intoxicated by the Kool-Aid we can be where we're in it. And it's not till we're out that we look back and say, damn it, I've been bamboozled, I've been led astray, run amok. So yeah, just again, I know I'm not the only person nor the first person to have come to this conclusion that the ICOC is really one just big ass MLM. But you know, I figured some of y'all might appreciate hearing the connections there. And if you're in there and you trying to get out, like this may help. And I'm not telling you to get out. I'm not ever here to tell you what to do. I'm really just here to help inform you so you can make a decision for yourself, and hopefully you can make that decision. Whatever decision you make, whether you stay or go, hopefully you're making it for yourself. I'm trying to just empower you with the information. Unlike some people who are going to just say, hey, if you don't do it this way, you're wrong. No, if you want to stay, cool. There's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, I know there are still good people there. There's still people who are going to heaven there, but there's also some toxicity there. There's also some bad stuff going on. But yeah, that's all I'm here for. I'm here to just inform you properly and help you make the proper decision for yourself. And whether that decision is to stay or to leave, you know, you do what you do. But that is it. Y'all have a good night. Y'all leave me comments, hit that like button, that subscribe button, that share button, all the stuff that the everybody has to do out in the YouTube verse and all of that. If I am behind on the interviews, I will get to, I'm trying to make my rounds. I'm trying to not procrastinate. But that's it. Y'all have a good night, and I'll see y'all at the next video. Peace.